So, in news just in from the United States, Pennsylvania's highest court has overturned Bill Cosby's sexual assault conviction and ordered that he be released from prison immediately. The decision comes after Cosby had served more than 2 years of a potential 3 to 10-year sentence following his conviction in 2018. The comedian and actor was best known for his role as the lovable husband and father in the 1980s television comedy series The Cosby Show. But his family-friendly reputation was shattered after dozens of women accused him of sexual assault. His conviction was widely seen as a landmark moment in the #MeToo movement that brought forth an array of allegations against the powerful men in Hollywood and beyond. Let's cross now to my colleague Nick Harper. So, Nick, this should be a blow to, as I mentioned, that this was a seminal moment in the #MeToo movement.
Absolutely. I mean, he was the first celebrity in the Me Too movement to be convicted of sexual crimes. The fact that it has now been overturned by the highest court in Pennsylvania will certainly be a big blow. The justices also ruling that they were worried about similar patterns in other Me Too cases, like the one against Harvey Weinstein. Basically, prosecutors bringing it down to the fact that they say that there was not a fair trial for Cosby in the 2018 trial in which he was convicted. They say that there were a number of reasons for that, but essentially he wasn't given a fair trial and therefore should not have been convicted. And that is why they're saying it needs to be overturned and he needs to be released from prison immediately.
So, Nick, I find this absolutely sensational because it's being said that one of the reasons was the fact that an agreement with a previous prosecutor prevented him from being charged for allegedly drugging and molesting Andrea Constand in 2004. Why are we hearing of this now, and why does it affect Bill Cosby after he's already been incarcerated?
Well, yes, two reasons seem to be being given by the justices in Pennsylvania's Supreme Court, and that is one of them, because Bill Cosby was told by a former prosecutor that he was not going to have to stand trial for criminal charges. That agreement then led to a civil lawsuit in which Bill Cosby testified. However, that testimony was then used in a later criminal trial. And that is something that the justice is saying simply should not have happened. Also, he was standing trial for those offences against that one woman, Andrea Constand. But the judge in the 2018 trial also allowed testimony to be heard from 5 other accusers. Now, he hadn't been formally charged with any allegations from those accusers, but the prosecution were allowed to bring these witnesses forward because they said that it showed a pattern of sexual assault, that he was a serial predator, and not just that he had drugged and sexually assaulted Andrea Constand, but there were also these 5 other women who were able to give testimony to show that there was this pattern. And the justices are saying that, again, that was another reason why Bill Cosby was not given a fair trial. So those two things taken into consideration by the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania are coming down to the reason as to why they now say he needs to be released.
And effectively, Nick, what this means, I understand, is that there are no prospects of a retrial.
Well, that's right. The justices are also saying that they do not feel that there should be a third trial, which would take place. We're unclear if prosecutors would want that to happen, even if it were allowed. Remember that Bill Cosby was convicted at his second trial. There was one a year or so before that in which the jury were deadlocked. And at that trial, we did not hear testimony from other accusers. At the second trial, where there was that additional testimony from other accusers, the jury found him guilty and he was sentenced to 3 to 10 years. He's so far served 2 of those years, and it looks like he will be released in the coming hours.
So you mentioned earlier on Harvey Weinstein and other similar cases. Talk to us a little bit more about what is being said around this, how this could impact them and other future trials or criminal charges of this nature.
Well, often, as has been the case in both the Bill Cosby case and the Harvey Weinstein case, prosecutors are somewhat limited in the number of females that they are able to bring formal charges against the accuser on the stand. So as we saw with Bill Cosby, it was a single woman who was within the statute of limitation, the alleged crimes happening within a time period where prosecutors were able to push forward with criminal charges. We had a similar issue with Harvey Weinstein. At one point there was 3 accusers who had brought charges against him. That was then limited to 2, even though there were dozens of other women who had said that they had been assaulted by these 2 men. Now, the justices, in their ruling on the Bill Cosby case, brought forward this idea that they were worried about the undermining of the criminal justice system in the United States by bringing additional women to testify, even though those are not the women who the accused has had formal charges from. They say that being able to do that, the prosecutors are undermining the criminal justice system. So yes, there is this concern that Harvey Weinstein's case, he was charged and he's been jailed for more than 20 years. There were these additional women who were also able to come forward and tell their story with their allegations, even though Harvey Weinstein was not facing formal charges from them. The justice is saying that by prosecutors being allowed to do this, there may be a possibility that Harvey Weinstein also did not get a fair trial. It's unclear yet whether there will be any push to try and overturn his conviction, but certainly it is a ruling that signals that there is some concern about bringing additional accusers forward if they have not been used by prosecutors to bring formal charges.
All right, Nick, I'm going to take you some tweets that I've seen, and you share with me others that you have seen in terms of reactions. So one says, regardless of today's court decision, this is Bill Cosby's legacy. Another one says, no one has an opinion on Bill Cosby being released, really. While another one says that Bill Cosby's sentencing isn't being overturned because he's innocent, but because of a previous deal he struck. Any other weighty reactions from people who are invested in not only seeing Bill Cosby incarcerated, but all the others who have been accused in the #MeToo movement?
Well, we're likely to see more of those coming out over the next few hours, and it will probably be the case that we will see Me Too protests as a result of his release. I was at his 2018 trial, and every single day there were women there, some of them accusers against Bill Cosby, who were outside the courthouse. Some of them with signs, some of them protesting. They were in a celebratory mood when he was convicted and ordered to spend 3 to 10 years in jail. We could see potential protests later in the day as a result of this release. We'll certainly see a backlash on social media in the coming hours. I think it'll be very interesting to consider what this decision by Pennsylvania's Supreme Court means for other cases like Harvey Weinstein, like other ones that are still pending trial, whether or not that could impact any potential current convictions or future trials that may be due to take place.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Nick. Nick Harper, my colleague in Washington, D.C., talking about the news that's just come through. Pennsylvania Supreme Court citing prosecutorial mistakes by overturning the sexual assault conviction of Bill Cosby in Wednesday, so he'll be walking free. And as Nick says, most likely protests in reaction to that. More sports news in just a moment.